I know you'll be hearing a lot of testimony, a lot of people talking about the bill, so I wanted to give you a little bit of my perspective of why I introduced this bill. You know, on November 9th, like many of us, I woke up after a very few hours of sleep and felt like our country had changed fundamentally. And certainly I have been alive and lived through Republican presidents before. And while I was concerned about a conservative ideology about economics that differs from my own view, and concerned about what this meant for economic policy, what I was really worried about for the first time, I think, in my life was about this president's personal and very outspoken opinions about oppressing women, immigrants, and people of color. I think, like many women across this country, this president who has talked openly about sexually assaulting women and has spoken about women in a very derogatory tone. His election was deeply personal in a way that was not about his political party, but really about his viewpoints of how he viewed women. You know, he made a lot of promises on the campaign trail, and one of those campaign promises was to do whatever he could to roll back reproductive rights in this country. And he has made that has come to fruition. He, in his first few days, signed an executive order, the Mexico Rule, their global gag order, and what that did was prevent access to reproductive rights for women internationally. He has appointed more cabinet members that are dead set on rolling back women's reproductive rights, and made true on the promise that he would send a new judge to the Supreme Court that was dead set on oppressing women's autonomy. So for many of us, I think we have come to this moment where President Trump is living up to our worst fears. You know, over the past 6 months, I have heard a steady outcry from people in Rhode Island who wanted to see this bill be introduced in the State House and make it to the governor's desk. I've gotten emails and postcards and at events and through the hundreds of women who are showing up at the Democratic Women's Caucus and protests and online petitions. I'm sure you've all seen the resolutions from many Democratic town committees. There's, you know, even a letter in your packet from Mayor Alorza, and I've heard from city council members across the state who are all calling for action to ensure that no matter who is in the White House or who is on the Supreme Court, that women's reproductive rights will be protected right here in Rhode Island. I have had women sharing stories with me that are so deeply personal and so incredibly painful, and I am both honored and humbled by that. I've heard from women who have talked about, older women talked about having lost loved ones to botched abortions during unsanitary conditions prior to 1973, when abortion was explicitly illegal in Rhode Island. And I've had women who are, you know, now of the age in which they're having children and who've had very much wanted pregnancies, but had medical emergencies or circumstances which prevented them from continuing with that pregnancy, and their incredible thankfulness of living in a country and at a time when they can make that decision themselves. I've had constituents talk to me about their religious beliefs and how those religious beliefs are completely reconciled with their beliefs on women's reproductive rights. And I have also had many conversations with constituents and people in the state about the importance of the separation of church and state, that one person's religious beliefs cannot override the civil liberties that are guaranteed by our Constitution. So I thank all those people who have shared those stories. You know, you'll hear from many Rhode Islanders tonight who will tell you why this bill is important to them, and so I wanted to share with you why this bill is important to me. I believe we are not a free and equal society unless women have autonomy over their own bodies. So here's what this bill does. It takes women's reproductive rights protections established by the Supreme Court, and it codifies them into state law. I know it's been a long time since we've heard a bill like this, and in the Rhode Island Senate. And I recognize that this moment in itself is progress for our state. I'm very thankful for our chair for bringing this bill forward and allowing us to have this hearing tonight. But I'm asking you, my colleagues, to do more. Listen to these stories. Listen to people's passion and care and concern and their fear about what is going on in our country, and recognize that we can take decisive action. We can stand up for our constituents and say that something that has existed because the Supreme Court said so in 1973, it's about time that we go ahead and put that into Rhode Island law. Thank you.